The number one muscle in the body is your diaphragm, primarily responsible for breathing, and you have some accessory muscles to help in the neck and the upper chest. We find that if we're not using the diaphragm correctly, it will also have effect on this core area here, linking your hip flexors, your glutes, hamstrings, everything to do with stability in that lower core. So we're looking at the diaphragm primarily for a release and a reboot. It's going to be down through the sternum and out into probably 2 to 3 inches of the lower rib cage. We're not going to be digging in deep. We're going to try and find tissue tension and start to move. We're going to move fairly quickly. This is all about releasing tissue that's stuck down, that's not allowing your diaphragm to expand and contract properly, and it's not allowing you to move up and down properly, okay? So breathing like this initially, people talk about the benefits of breathing or conscious breathing, being it'll help you, it'll help healing, it'll help grounding, it oxygenates your tissues, your cells, regulates your heart rate. We work consciously initially, but our goal is to move to it being unconscious or basically happening in the subconscious automatically. So the first release is we're going to go going down through the sternum and out towards the edge of the ribs. I'm going to use a contact where I'll just put my fingertips and thumbs together. I'm going to start here. What I will do, the trick with this is I'm going to create a bit of tension. So if I'm toning my tummy muscles, so now I'm going to rub along the edge of the rib. What I'm looking to do is not create friction. That's friction. I don't know if you can hear it. Friction, but that's not friction. So it's contacting the tissue and moving. I've done this in previous videos. So we're looking at moving along the edge of the rib cage. You can take your time. You can use 2 hands on one side as you work down, or you do it bilaterally. But what we're looking to do is create tension in the tummy muscles and move along the edge of the rib cage in towards the center where our rib cage meets the sternum. It's called your xiphoid process. There's a little bone, it's at the bottom of the sternum. We want to try and avoid pressing directly on that. But we're going to now work an inch either side of that. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to make my thumb stiff against my index finger, and I'm going to press in. And here I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for maybe 10 or 15 seconds. I can offer the other hand a little bit of extra pressure if I want, but it should be uncomfortable but not painful. And then I'm going to start to move up and down, left and right, front to back. And I'm just going to work along that little 1 inch portion, very close to the xiphoid process. Same on the other side. To do my right side, I'm going to use my left hand, press my thumb into my index finger and let it sink in. Then I'll just use my other hand just to add a bit of pressure. Give it 10 to 15 seconds. Let my body get used to having this pressure on this area. If it's not an area that you've worked at, it will be uncomfortable. And then I'm going to start to move up and down, all along the edge of this little portion of the rib cage. Good. Once I've done the edges, I'm going to move up now through the sternum. I'm going to contact, I'll just do it with all my fingertips. I'm going to press in, and then I'm just going to move. I can actually add in a little bit of rotation if I just want to hold steady with the contacts, and then I can move, or I can encourage some shoulder movements. But what we're looking to do is break down any adhesions, any tissues that's stuck. And we can move fairly quickly through this. There will be areas when you contact them, you will be uncomfortable. These tissues are almost always stuck down on everyone. And you can do the little knobbly bits as where it attaches into the collarbone. Give that little bit of rub up and down, left and right. Once I've done that, I'm just going to put my fingers find my belly button, and I'm going to go just below my belly button. And I'm going to try and just focus my breath now down here. So I'm going to breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth. I'm trying to get my breath as low down into my tummy as possible. In through my nose, and think of it like taking a drink of water. So when I breathe in through my nose, think I'm drawing that air back to the back of my throat and down my windpipe. So I'm not taking the air up into my nostrils, I'm taking it back into my sinuses. So it looks like we're breathing into our belly, but it's a side effect of our lungs expanding down and out, that the belly gets pushed down and out. So if our body perceives that we're in fight or flight or danger, we will act, and our body will act accordingly. So the breath, or breathing properly using your diaphragmatic breath, will feed into that system that you're not in danger, that there is no need to be in fight or flight mode, and that you can function quite well. So the first thing we're going to do as part of the follow-on for resetting or rebooting the diaphragm is to show where we need to have the rib cage. So the rib cage needs to be positioned over the pelvic floor. So when I take a breath in, so it doesn't matter initially what happens. I'm going to take a breath in through my nose. When I breathe out, I'm going to breathe out through slightly pursed lips. And I can feel my rib cage falling towards the floor. So now I'm going to use my fingertips as a little bit of pressure so that they don't come back up again. So each time my ribs go down, drops towards the floor, I'm now not going to let it come back up again. So I'm going to fix my rib cage, the posterior aspect of my rib cage, to the floor. Breath in and out. Breath in and out. So we're going to do that for 1 minute. I'm going to use this, so you might be able to see this. So when I breathe in, each time I breathe out, if this weight helps me feel that the ribs are going to the floor, I'm going to let them lower down towards the floor. When I breathe in, if I'm not allowing my ribs to come back up again, the only place I can get a bit of air in is through my deeper into my diaphragm, and my belly will look like it's exploding or bloating. Once I've done that, I'm now going to go to below my belly button. So basically, wherever my belly button is. So now I'm going to find my belly button, and now I'm going to use the weight to basically fire up or wake up my transverse abdominus. So this is a big muscle that crosses the bottom of your lower abdomen. We want to have some tone on this, probably 20%, but we're going to practice getting 100% effort into it. So if I find my belly button, and I just put this weight below my belly button but not on my pubic bone, probably in line with the two bony bits at the front of your pelvis. So I'll sit my hand here on top of it. So when I breathe in, I'm going to take a breath in, let everything relax. When I breathe out, I'm going to use my tummy muscles to press. You can see that pressing up toward the ceiling. So I want to put as much abdominal tone against the weight. When I breathe in, I'm going to let it relax. When I breathe out, I'm going to press it up. So I'm going to spend about a minute getting used to what it feels like when I press the weight up towards the ceiling and when I let it relax. So I'm going to take a breath in to start. When I breathe out, I'm going to use my tummy muscles to push up towards the ceiling. When I breathe in, I'm going to let it relax. So once I know what 100% effort feels like, pushing up as hard as I can, I'm going to let it slack off I'm going to relax it to about 20% effort. So I want to be able to feel some tone, and I'm going to keep that on. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of shoulder protraction, where I let my shoulders drop to the floor first, and then I'm going to lift so that basically my shoulder blades are off the floor. So I'm almost feeling now more of my rib cage on the back. So that we're now going to concentrate, keeping our rib cage down, engaging 20% on the abdominal wall, and we're just going to breathe. So what we're doing is we're encouraging our diaphragm to pull down as we breathe in. That will allow the belly to expand, but not into no pressure. We want to have some abdominal pressure on. That's 20% in our lower abdominal wall, because that's going to help when I breathe out. Offer that intra-abdominal pressure. So when I breathe in, tummy relaxes. When I breathe out, tummy engages. And I want to make sure that my neck is nice and relaxed. Our goal is to practice consciously so that when we're not thinking about it, it's happening in the background. So I'm trying to encourage a low, slow, deep abdominal breath. Instead of using a weight, you could just use a block, a yoga block. So you could put the yoga block on your belly. Fix the rib cage down first. So each time I breathe out, my rib cage is dropping. So each time then each consecutive breath after that, we'll put more emphasis on the belly breathing. So we always try and learn or relearn a new pattern or a new habit in the least compromised position. So we're lying on our back, so our body doesn't have to think about anything else, but just getting the breath right. Move to a sitting position. I want to make sure that my head is over my thoracic spine is over my pelvis. So if I was to turn sideways, what I'm looking for is, I'm not looking for that slumped position because I'm unable to get a breath pattern properly. I want to be on the edge of my chair if I'm sitting. I want to make sure that my pelvis is positioned over my rib cage. A way of doing that, two ways of doing it. First one is I'm going to find the rib cage and I'm going to slump, and then I'm going to roll my pelvis back and forward until I find my pelvis is sitting balanced over my rib cage. And then I'm going to find the position where I'm tucking my chin back. So ideally I want my head balanced over my shoulders, over my chest, and I want my chest balanced over my pelvis. My feet are flat. So when I turn, so that you can get an idea, when I breathe in, I'm breathing into this space here. If I'm slumped, I can't breathe into this space. I breathe in up into my shoulder. So I want to get my pelvis. I want to make sure that my rib cage is centered over my pelvic bowl, over my pelvis, and that my head is stacked on top. We've got some tone in our lower abdominal wall to keep us in that position, and we're just going to breathe. So initially, it is a very conscious effort to relearn how to breathe properly again, but we move then to being at a subconscious level. We're so used to breathing upper chest and neck that basically I'm going to focus on as low as possible, as wide as possible, and into the back as possible. So nobody needs to be told to breathe up here, because that will happen automatically. We've been doing it a lifetime. We want to go light breath, slow breath, low breath. We are changing with our breathing pattern what type of environment our body is in. So if our brain perceives us to be in that fight or flight, we will act accordingly. Our body will respond, it'll breathe, heart rate will change. So, but if we're feeding into that we're in a non-threatening environment, then our body can relax, the breath can relax, the body can start to function. See how you get on? Pop me in a message, drop me a line, let me know if you're having any difficulties.